Good morning. Well, the new week starts with the new issues and the issues that concern us every day, concerns our future, concerns the future of our country, concerns the future of our children. And one thing which worries me most in Canada is the economic downturn. Despite all the hoopla of liberalization, despite all the talk of going ahead with the infrastructure development, I find disconcerting undertones in the economy. The issues are clear, but they are being camouflaged and hidden from the public. Imagine, after October 2011, we have suffered the maximum loss of jobs. 71,000 jobs have been decreased since October 2011. That means in a period of 5 years, 6 years, this year. And this loss has been this year. Imagine it. Now imagine a country where the population is increasing by immigration alone by about 300,000 every year. I'm including the refugees who are coming. So 275,000 are the legal immigrants, then some illegal immigrants, undocumented people, and then the refugees. So approximately, let's say 300,000, give and take a few hundred thousand. Now these 300,000 people coming every year. Then the population growth of 2% in that adds further, and we have a loss of 71,000 jobs. 71,000 jobs mean multiply by 5. That means about 350,000 people, because ordinarily one job feeds 5 people. Average, I'm talking about. That implies about 350,000 people are going to be on the welfare. And who pays for that? You and me. The country. Only in this July, Canada suffered a loss of 31,200 jobs. Now this job shows, and interestingly, the economists were saying that in the month of July, we'll have increased jobs of 10,000. So the estimate was 10,000 plus. The reality is 31,200 minus. So the total minus is 41,200. And this is not shocking in itself, but it exposes another hypocrisy. I have always been saying that they are lies, damn lies, and statistics. And the government of Canada, like all the governments all over the world, let's be very clear, I don't want to target only the government of Canada, it's all over. They manipulate these figures. Now, why have these jobs fallen? One factor is the census was over. Census had hired part-time people, and they were being shown as fully employed. Now, the census part is over. Those people who were partly employed are unemployed, so the figures dropped sharply. Had these people been honest enough and told, well, look here, these are casual employment, this is underemployment, then the people would not have this shock. But the trauma of the people looking at that fall of 31,000 jobs. And do you know, since 1994, Alberta has the maximum unemployment. 8.6 is the unemployment rate today. While Canada as a whole, we have 6.9%, which is again a very high number. And then imagine if it was only confined to the loss of jobs and unemployment, I might have tolerated it. But look at it. Our GDP, Canadian GDP, and it's a part of the OECD, Organization of Economically Developed Countries. which is the most developed countries, and OECDs in this country, this is the only country which has suffered a loss in GDP. 0.6% downfall only in 1 month, month of July, that's the last month. So, looking at the whole scenario, we find A, unemployment is increasing. B, GDP is falling. C, dollar is falling. And I am not that much concerned with the fall in dollar rate, because ultimately my exports will increase, but the exports are not increasing. As a matter of fact, one chain after the other is being bought by the Americans. Recently, Rona was bought over by Lowe. So, who is losing? The country as a whole. Now, another very interesting and very intriguing part. You'll be shocked to know that it is the youngest portion of the society which is suffering. The people between the age of 17 to 40. Their jobs in this year have fallen by 28,000. 28,000 youth employment has gone out of the window. Why? It's the bad policies and wrong implementation of the plans. We talk of the plans and then we waste money. We have implemented issues, we have drafted good plans, and when the point comes to implement them, we simply ignore them or do something exactly opposite. Our infrastructure is bad. Look at the roads. Steel is the worst possible road in Ontario. So are the others. Look at the number of accidents that are taking place. Look at the wait time in the emergency rooms. Look anywhere and you will find there is a slowly deteriorating standard of living and standard of life. I may not even be bothered about the standard of living, but I'm definitely concerned with the standard of life. And now with this increasing unemployment, we are suffering. I remember it was 1940s. I have read it, I wasn't there at that time. And US was suffering the worst possible depression, and the President Roosevelt said, simple, give the jobs to the people. So there are no jobs, create them. There is no possibility. And then Eleanor Roosevelt came up with a proposal. She said, hire a team of people in each city whose whole day would be spent in collecting the leaves falling from the trees, put them in the paper bags. Let them work for 8 hours, putting leaves and the grass cutting and anything dirt in the paper bags. In the evening they go home. The second team comes after that and starts dispersing those leaves. Again the first team comes next morning and starts collecting them. So job, instead of giving them welfare, they were creating employment. When the people got the employment, they started earning money. Then they started spending money. When the money was being spent, the goods were being purchased. The more economic activity, more manufacturing activity, more marketing activity. So the circle starts. This cyclical circle was initiated by Eleanor Roosevelt in a very, very sensible manner. Create jobs, even if it's collecting leaves and throwing them. So you will say it's a waste of money. But is it not a better way than giving money on welfare, which breeds prostitution, gangsterism? Is it not better than welfare, which breeds sloth and drug use? In which world are we living? Give the people dignity. When you give people welfare, you're taking away their dignity as a human being. You're treating them like dregs of society. When you give them employment, even if it's collecting leaves, you give them a sense of dignity of labor. You give them an attitude of having faith in themselves. You give them some hope that they are also human beings. And when that happens, people want to improve their standard of living. When you're on welfare, you don't want to improve it because you're getting something free of cost. When you are getting job, You say, okay, I'm collecting leaves today. Tomorrow I should be a supervisor looking at it. Your children look up to you. You become a role model. Well, okay, oh, my parents are working hard. But here you are on welfare and you're a role model and as the role model for your kids, you are telling them to go on welfare. So both the ways is cyclical and it has got domino effect. Now what sort of a domino effect you want? Or rather what sort of effect government wants? The way it's processing, the way it's proceeding with its half-baked policies shows that they are really not concerned with the situation, whether it's economic or political. Because ultimately economic situation does affect the political situation as well and affect the stability of the people. Now coming to another issue, and that is closely connected with it. When the unemployment increases and the employment falls, what is the first thing that is affected? Food you have got to have, definitely. Live you have got to live in this country, and you can't live in open at least in the winters. So things which suffer are, number one is education. Less people will be sending their kids for the education. Second is health. Now, do you want the future to be darkened by the hordes of the illiterate people? Is that what you are wishing for? Is that what your aim is? I'm definite it's not. Then why is it that we cannot take concerted steps? As a matter of fact, providing employment is not a problem at all. I was talking to some of the senior ministers and I told them, look here, why don't you start cutting the path by the side of the highways, which can be used later on converted into extension of the highways, widening of the highways. Stop using machinery for some time. Once you start using human labor, give them the jobs, you can bring the machine later on. It is always a matter of fact. Secondly, why don't we retrain people? We have today got about 60,000 jobs for environment and pollution control and recycling. Have we trained our labor force or retrained our labor force for that? No. But we are more concerned we give them the doles, unemployment rates. Our all priorities are absolutely jumbled up. It shows muddled thinking, confused mind, and absolutely dormant brains. I charge the government and the mandarins in Ottawa and in Toronto that they are not working in the interest of the country despite all their protestations. I want them to wake up. Not that they are against the country, but they are dormant, they are sleeping. Let them wake up to the realities of life and do something for the country. Do something which will help the country grow up and become really what it is, what it has the capacity to be, a leader in innovation. Today in nanotechnology, for example, we are nowhere. While we can be number one with our agricultural resources and our research acumen. So, friends, it's incumbent on you as Canadians. It's incumbent on you as human beings. It's incumbent on you as parents to ensure and to force your elected leaders to think in innovative ways, which are really not innovative, but they're innovative enough to ensure that you remain employed, though your children get employment. You maintain a decent standard of living and standard of life, that you are really happy. I won't bother if the gross domestic product GDP falls further down, but the GDH, gross domestic happiness, increases. On that issue we'll talk another time. In the meantime, have a great day, but think and act positively and make your elected leaders act in a way to redeem the country and to save the country, lest it should be too late. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.